My fiancé said, if you can't handle me spending weekends with my ex, maybe we're not right for each other. I said, you're spot on. Then I confirmed the Singapore job transfer she'd been begging me to decline. Hey Reddit, I am writing this from Singapore because I couldn't keep pretending my weekends didn't matter anymore. First night here, I slept 11 hours straight. No phone buzzing, no keys in the door at 11:07 p.m. No poetry club, lies, just quiet. That knot in my chest finally loosened for the first time in months. 3 years. That's how long I, 34 male, was with Valerie, 31 female. Met at some boring networking event where she pretended to care about constitutional law, and I pretended her brand management job was interesting. We were both there for free food and the tax write-off, so we hit it off. Started dating, moved in together after 18 months. 6 months ago, I proposed. Ring on her hand, venue booked. Her mom already acting like event planner and bride combined. Looking back, there was always something slightly off. Nothing I could point to specifically. Just this low-frequency hum in my gut that would spike at random moments. When she'd laugh a little too hard at her phone, when she'd take calls in the other room for no apparent reason. Nothing concrete, nothing actionable, just static. I filed it away. Figured I was being paranoid. Quick background because it matters later. I was a senior prosecutor in Multnomah County. Before that, a few years doing federal court support work. Point is, I've spent years drafting airtight agreements and watching people lie for a living. You learn to spot the signs whether you want to or not. Right after the engagement, my career dropped a bomb. A former supervising attorney from my federal days called me directly. Unusual move. Said a major tech company was building a legal operations center in Singapore. They wanted a US-trained attorney with courtroom experience to run their Asia-Pacific legal team. Job came through his old network. They're looking at you specifically, Matthew. Compensation package is ridiculous. Big base, equity, company apartment for the first year, full relocation. Spousal visa support if you want it. Senior legal director, at 34. Overseeing compliance, litigation strategy, and regulatory affairs across 12 countries. Can I think about it? Take a week. They're moving fast. That conversation changed how I approached the wedding. Not because I didn't love Valerie, because I was about to make major career decisions, potentially relocate internationally, and combine my life with someone else's. I needed clarity on the foundation we were building. So I did what any attorney would do when stakes get high. I drafted a prenuptial agreement, went home that night and told Valerie about both developments over dinner. She was barely touching her food, texting someone the whole time. First, I mentioned the Singapore opportunity. She looked up from her phone like I'd asked her to solve calculus. Singapore? Like the country? Yeah. Great package, director title, they'd cover your visa, company apartment. Matthew? No. Didn't let me finish. I can't leave my family. My mom would be devastated. We have a wedding to plan. Her mom. The same mom she saw maybe twice a month for brunch, where she complained about her mom's boyfriend choices. The wedding she'd barely discussed in weeks. It's just something to consider. Could be an adventure. I'm not considering it. That edge in her voice she got when she thought I was being difficult. Portland's home. Tell them no. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, smiled slightly, then set it face down on the table. That gut hum again. Louder this time. Here's where I made a decision that turned out to be the smartest instinct I had. Didn't tell her I was declining. Didn't tell her I was accepting either. Just nodded, changed the subject, and called my contact the next morning with a different answer than she expected. I need more time. The opportunity is incredible, but I've got personal logistics to work through. Can you hold the position open another few weeks? He paused. They really want you, Matthew. I can probably get you 3 weeks, maybe 4, but they won't wait forever. That's all I need. Keep me in the running. Valerie assumed I'd done what she told me. Never asked for confirmation. Never followed up. Just moved on like my compliance was a given. That told me more about how she saw our relationship than any conversation could have. Then I brought up the prenup, that same week. Before we get deeper into wedding planning, I want to talk about a prenuptial agreement. She stiffened immediately, put her phone down for the first time in an hour. A prenup? You don't trust me? This isn't about trust. It's about risk management. Kept my voice level. Professional. The same tone I'd use explaining discovery procedures to a new paralegal. I'm a prosecutor with potential private sector opportunity. International relocation might be on the table eventually. My professional liability exposure is significant. A prenup protects both of us and makes sure we're aligned on expectations. What kind of prenup are we talking about? Standard asset protection framework. Separate property stays separate. Joint acquisition split equitably based on contribution. Spousal support structured fairly based on marriage length and circumstances. Paused. Let that settle. And a few transparency clauses. Standard and high-value agreements. Transparency clauses? Full disclosure of any prior romantic or sexual relationships with people either of us maintains ongoing contact with. Complete honesty about the nature of current friendships that overlap with past relationships. Watched her face carefully. And a mutual commitment to avoid private one-on-one overnight stays or extended weekend activities with prior partners without discussion and agreement. She went quiet. Not the thinking quiet. The caught quiet. I've seen that silence in deposition rooms when someone realizes the question they just got asked has no good answer. That's really specific, Matthew. It's standard in high asset agreements. I've reviewed dozens of them. Prevents complications and misunderstandings down the road. Clear expectations, clear consequences. The financial stuff is fine. Her voice had changed, tighter, more controlled. But that last part about prior partners feels like you're trying to control who I spend time with. I'm asking for transparency about past relationships that overlap with current friendships. Nothing more. If there's no overlap, the clause is irrelevant. If there is overlap, we discuss it like adults and establish boundaries together. What if someone I dated years ago is just a friend now? Am I supposed to file a formal report every time I grab coffee with someone? If you're in regular contact with them, spending significant time together, then yes, disclosure. That's the point of the clause. She stood up, started pacing, that nervous energy she got when she was cornered. This is insane. You're treating our marriage like a business contract with compliance requirements. Marriage is a contract, Valerie. Literally, the state issues a license. There are legal obligations, property implications, tax consequences. I'm just making sure the terms are clear before we sign. If everything's above board, this document costs us nothing but a conversation. I'm not signing something that polices my friendships. Then we need to talk about why that clause specifically bothers you when the financial terms don't. That's when it happened. The slip that changed everything. Because it's invasive. What? I have to disclose that Brody and I dated for like 2 months 5 years ago? It was nothing. Ancient history. We're just friends now, and it's none of your business what we were before. Stopped. Processed. Let the words hang in the air between us like smoke from a controlled detonation. Dated? Her face froze, color draining in real time. I watched her replay her own words in her head and realized what she just admitted. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. And it's exactly what you said. You said he was a friend from Seattle. Someone you used to know? An old buddy who just moved back to town? You never once mentioned you dated him, Valerie. It was barely anything. You've been spending time with him. Weekends, Saturdays for sure, sometimes Sundays. Every week for the past 3 weeks since you moved back. You told me it was a poetry club. It is a poetry club. Valerie, you once asked me if brevity was a cheese. You read Instagram captions and think they're too long. You don't read poetry. Kept my voice flat, controlled. The same tone I used when I knew a witness was about to perjure themselves. What's the actual situation with Brody? She started crying. The angry kind. Not sad. Defensive. It's not what you think. Brody needed support when he moved back. He's going through stuff. Adjusting to being back in Portland. Full name. What? His full name. I want to know exactly who my fiancée has been spending her weekends with while lying to me about where she was. Brody. Just Brody. I don't see why his last name matters. Timeline. When exactly did you two date? 5 years ago. 2 months. Maybe 3 months. It ended badly, but we stayed friends. That's all. Why did you hide that he was your ex? Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. You'd make it into something it isn't. Like what? Asking reasonable questions? Wanting the transparency I literally just asked for in a prenup? Sat down. Opened my laptop. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything about your current relationship with Brody. The truth this time. And I'm going to verify it. Because right now, you've lied about his history with you, lied about what you've been doing on weekends, and just admitted the Poetry Club story was cover for spending time with your ex. I didn't lie about Poetry Club. Pulled up the Poetry Club's public events page. Took 10 seconds to find through a simple search. Portland Poetry Collective. Professional website. Clear schedule posted for the entire year with dates, times, locations. They meet first Fridays, monthly. Have for 3 years running. No Saturday sessions listed anywhere. No weekly meetings of any kind. No special workshops on random weekends. Turned the laptop screen toward her so she could see exactly what I was seeing. So either you joined a completely different poetry club that doesn't exist anywhere on the internet and has zero social media presence, or you've been systematically lying about where you spend your Saturdays for the past 3 weeks. Which one is it, Valerie? Try again. And think carefully before you answer. The color drained from her face completely. That moment when someone realizes the lie is dead. One more chance, Valerie. Full honesty. What have you actually been doing with Brody every weekend? She sat down, hands shaking. We just hang out, talk, watch movies at his place. Sometimes grab food. It's not what you're making it sound like. Every weekend, 6-hour blocks minimum, while telling me you're at Poetry Club. Close the laptop. I'm done with this conversation. Matthew, nothing physical has happened. Even if that's true, and frankly I doubt it. You hid a prior relationship, invented cover stories, and spent 3 weeks lying directly to my face about where you were and who you were with. That's enough. Trust is gone. I don't need to prove anything beyond what you've already admitted. She switched tactics, leaned forward, reached for my hands with that soft look she'd use when she wanted something. Baby, you know I love you. Brody's nothing. He's just comfortable, familiar. You're the one I'm marrying. Pulled my hands back. Comfortable enough to lie about. Familiar enough to hide. You're twisting everything. I'll stop seeing him. I'll cut him off completely. Block his number. Delete him from everything. If you can't handle me spending weekends with him, maybe we're not right for each other. There it was. The ultimatum. Delivered like a weapon. Like she thought I'd fold under the threat of losing her. Like I'd apologize for asking questions. Beg her to stay. Promise to never bring up Brody again. Like I'd accept being lied to. Because the alternative was being alone. Wrong guy for that play. She'd misread me completely. You're spot on. We're not right for each other. Held out my hand. Palm up. Waiting. Voice completely level. Give me the ring. Her expression cracked. Confidence collapsing in real time, like a building with its foundation pulled out. What? The engagement ring. The one I bought. The one I put on your finger when I thought we were building something real. Give it back. Now. Matthew? I was just frustrated. I didn't mean it like that. Ring. Now. Or my attorney handles the recovery process, and it gets a lot more complicated for both of us. No. She clutched her hand to her chest, covering the ring with her other palm like a child protecting a toy. You're overreacting. This is a misunderstanding. We can work through this like adults if you just calm down. We are working through it like adults. That's exactly what this is. I asked for honesty in a prenuptial agreement. You gave me weeks of lies instead. Now I'm terminating the engagement and requesting return of the ring. That's how adults handle breach of trust in contractual relationships. Stood up, walked to the bedroom closet, started pulling out suitcases. What are you doing? Didn't answer. Grabbed my laptop, opened email, started typing, confirming acceptance of the Singapore role. I'm in. Available to start in 2 weeks. Please send relocation paperwork. Sent. You're not serious? Her voice cracked. Panic setting in. You said you turned that down. No, I didn't. You told me to turn it down. I never said I did. I kept it on the table because I don't make irreversible career decisions based on someone else's demands without thinking it through first. Started pulling clothes from hangers, folding them into the suitcase. Methodical. Efficient. Turns out that was the right call. You lied to me. I didn't confirm or deny. You assumed. There's a difference. Kept packing. And that's rich coming from you right now. She switched tactics. Went from angry to pleading in that whiplash way manipulative people do when intimidation fails. Grabbed my hands. Made her eyes bigger. Voice softer. The whole performance. Baby, please, we can work through this. Every couple has rough patches. This doesn't have to end everything we've built. Removed her hands from mine. Gently but firmly. Valerie, I asked for one thing. Transparency. Honesty about past relationships. You responded by hiding an ex, lying about your weekends, and then threatening to end things when I pushed for the truth. Kept packing. Every choice you made in the last 3 weeks told me exactly where I stand in your priorities. Now I'm making choices that reflect mine. How did this escalate so fast? It didn't escalate. It clarified. The situation was always this. I just didn't have the information until now. Zipped the first suitcase. Pulled out another. Your stuff will be in the hallway tomorrow. You have 24 hours to collect it. She grabbed her purse. Hands shaking. Mascara starting to run. You'll regret this, Matthew. You're throwing away 3 years over nothing. I'm throwing away 3 years of lies. That's not nothing. That's everything. Didn't look up from packing. Close the door on your way out. She slammed it so hard the neighbor's dog started barking. Good riddance. 20 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Babe, let's talk. We can't end 3 years like this. I'll stop seeing Brody. Completely. If it bothers you this much. Matthew, this is childish. You're being dramatic. Can we please just talk? Then the tone shifted around midnight. You know what? Brody actually listens to me. He doesn't interrogate me like I'm on trial. Maybe I should have picked him in the first place. Fine. Don't respond. See how far that silent treatment gets you. You're going to die alone with your prenups and your checklists. Then at 1:47 a.m., I gave you 3 years, Matthew. 3 years of my life. And this is how you repay me? I could have been with someone who actually appreciated me this whole time. Brody never made me feel like I was being cross-examined just for having friends. Didn't respond to any of it. Opened my laptop and started the exit checklist. Drafted one message. Professional. Final. Sent it to the venue, caterer, photographer, florist, DJ, her parents, and my parents. Wedding canceled effective immediately due to dishonesty and misrepresentation. Do not contact Valerie through me for any reason. Reach out to me directly only for contract cancellation or deposit questions. Thank you for your understanding. Then opened my banking app and started separating finances. We'd kept accounts separate, thank goodness. No joint credit cards to untangle, no shared investments. Clean break on the money side at least. Texted my buddy Jake. Need a favor? You still looking for a sublet? Always. What's up? My place? Available in 2 weeks. You interested? Wait, you're leaving Portland? For real? Singapore? Long story. Tell you later. No way. Yeah, I'm definitely in. Send me the details. Forwarded my lease info to Jake, emailed my landlord about the authorized tenant change, and finished packing the essentials. By midnight, I had movers scheduled for the following week. The Singapore relocation packet confirmed via email, and I'd completed an inventory of everything I owned versus what Valerie had contributed to the apartment. Turns out she'd brought exactly one lamp, some kitchen gadgets still in the original packaging, and a shelf of books I'd never seen her open. 3 years together, and her entire contribution to our shared space fit in 3 medium boxes. At 2 a.m., her friend Chelsea texted, "Did you two really break up? Valerie's losing it." Ask Valerie. She says you're moving to Singapore? Yep. She says you canceled the wedding and told everyone. Yep. She says you'll never actually leave. You're just trying to scare her into apologizing. Laughed out loud at that one. Still thought she had leverage. Still thought I'd come crawling back if she waited long enough. Watch me, sweetheart. Silenced my phone. Slept better than I had in months. Sunday morning I woke up to 30 unread messages. Most from Valerie cycling through the 5 stages of grief at warp speed. Denial, anger, bargaining, more anger, fake acceptance, back to denial. Some from her friends doing recon missions. A few from my boys saying, "What the heck happened, man?" Ignored all of them. Went for a run. First run in weeks where I wasn't checking my phone wondering where she was. Felt lighter already. When I got back, Valerie was sitting on the floor outside my apartment door, waiting. Ambush mode. "We need to talk," she said, standing up quickly. Hair a mess. Mascara from yesterday smeared under her eyes. Wearing yoga pants and my old law school hoodie she'd claimed as hers 2 years ago. "Nothing to talk about. Your stuff's inside. Take it and go." "I'm not taking it because I'm not leaving." "This is insane, Matthew. You can't just end everything like this. Lease is in my name. You never officially moved in, remember? Kept your parents' address for mail because of the tax situation." Her little tax dodge. She'd been claiming her parents' place as primary residence for 3 years to avoid Portland city taxes. Saved her maybe $4,000 a year. Now it was about to backfire spectacularly. "That's a technicality." "I'm a prosecutor, Valerie. Technicalities are literally my job." Stepped toward the door. "You're not on the lease. You're not on utilities. By law, you're a guest who I'm no longer inviting, and I'm asking you to leave." "You're being cruel?" "I'm being accurate. There's a difference." She tried pushing past me into the apartment. I didn't budge. She bounced off my shoulder like she'd hit a wall. "Brody said you'd do this. He said you'd throw everything away over your ego." "Interesting. You're quoting Brody's opinion of me. You two must have had some real deep conversations about our relationship." "That's not... I didn't mean..." She caught herself. Realized she'd stepped in it again. "Valerie, your stuff is boxed up inside. 3 boxes. I'll leave them in the hallway. Take them today or I'm dropping them at Goodwill tomorrow morning." "You changed the locks already?" "First thing I did yesterday. Best money I ever spent." She stared at me like I'd become someone she didn't recognize. Like the Matthew she thought she knew would never be this cold, this methodical, this completely done. "Who are you right now?" Someone who asked for honesty, got lies instead, and acted accordingly. "Take your stuff. Get on with your life. We're finished here." Went inside, carried her 3 boxes into the hallway, closed the door. She banged on it for 15 minutes straight. Yelled something about me being a narcissist, a control freak, emotionally unavailable. Then finally left. Monday, I submitted my resignation to the DA's office. Professional letter, 2 weeks notice given the international timeline, cited a private sector opportunity abroad. My supervisor understood. Word spread fast in legal circles. By Tuesday, I was getting congratulatory emails from defense attorneys I'd gone up against in court. The next 2 weeks were a blur of activity. Movers packed my stuff. Company handled flights, work visa, temporary housing arrangements. Sold my car to a colleague for a fair price. Closed local accounts. Forwarded mail to my sister's place in San Diego. Valerie tried to intercept me at the courthouse once. Security stopped her at the metal detectors when she couldn't produce valid business there. "I just need 5 minutes!" she yelled across the lobby, causing every head to turn. Full makeup. Hair done. The whole production. She spotted me near the elevators and shouted, "You owe me a conversation, Matthew. You can't just ghost your fiancé." "Ex-fiancé," I called back. "And I don't owe you anything." Gave her a 2-finger salute and took the stairs. She tried the apartment again with reinforcements, her mom and her brother. Watched from my doorbell camera as they knocked for 25 minutes. Her mom doing that performative crying thing. Her brother tried to shoulder the door at one point. Solid hardwood. He bounced off and grabbed his shoulder in pain. Her mom yelled through the door about how I was destroying her daughter and how Valerie gave you the best years of her life. Eventually, the building manager came up to investigate the noise complaint. They left when he threatened to call the cops for trespassing. Small victories. Emailed my landlord. Unauthorized visitors harassing tenant. Documenting for record. Requesting formal trespass warning. Last Friday in Portland, I posted a photo on Instagram. Passport and boarding pass on my kitchen counter. Caption: "New chapter starts now." Comments exploded. Mostly support. Chelsea DM'd me within the hour. She's planning to go to the airport tomorrow. Just so you know. Cool. I'll already be through TSA pre-check before she finds parking. Saturday morning, 6 a.m. packed, Ubered to PDX, checked bags at the counter without issue. As I walked toward the security checkpoint with my carry-on, Valerie appeared out of nowhere like she'd been camping in the terminal waiting. Sweatpants, messy bun, puffy eyes with dark circles underneath, coffee cup shaking slightly in her hand. "Matthew, wait! Please, just give me 2 minutes." "How did you know my flight time?" I have my ways. Translation: she'd been stalking my coworkers' social media accounts for any scrap of information about my departure. Probably cross-referenced my coworkers' check-in post with flight schedule. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Like she'd been rehearsing speeches in her bathroom mirror at 3 a.m. Good. Kept walking toward the security line without slowing down. She grabbed my arm. We need to talk about this. You can't just leave the country without resolving things between us. Already did everything except board the actual plane. Bags are checked through to Singapore. Check-in's done. Seat assignment confirmed. I'm about 30 minutes from being unreachable. Removed her hand from my arm, firmly but without aggression. There's nothing to resolve, Valerie. It's resolved. This is insane! You're throwing away everything we built. 3 years. The wedding. Our future. All of it. Over what? A misunderstanding about some old friend? Old friend you dated. Old friend you hid. Old friend you lied about every weekend for a month. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You made a choice. Every single Saturday. You chose to lie. Repeatedly. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't argue. Didn't give her the dramatic scene she wanted. The confrontation she could replay later and edit in her memory until she was the victim. You threw it away the first time you lied about where you were going. The first weekend you told me poetry club while you drove to his apartment. I'm just taking out the trash. Kept walking toward security at the same steady pace. Matthew, you can't do this! Walked through the TSA checkpoint without looking back once. She stood there frozen, mouth open, until a TSA agent asked her to clear the area because she was blocking the flow of passengers behind her. Singapore hit different from the second I landed. Changi Airport was like stepping into a sci-fi movie. Botanical gardens inside the terminal. A 40-meter waterfall cascading through the center atrium. Floors so clean you could eat off them. Portland's airport had a carpet that smelled like regret and broken dreams. This place had orchids, art installations, and escalators that actually worked. Company had a driver waiting in arrivals, with my name on a sign. Took me straight to the apartment in Tanjong Pagar. 28th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen with appliances I'd need to learn how to use. Furniture was minimal but tasteful. Everything was new and clean. Job started Monday. Met with the general counsel, walked through the regional structure, got briefed on the cases and matters I'd be overseeing. Team was solid. 12 attorneys spread across Singapore, Hong Kong, and Sydney offices. The senior associate was a local guy with a Cambridge law degree who knew his stuff cold. Could have resented the American parachuting in to run things. Instead, he handed me a detailed brief on every pending matter and said, "Welcome. We're glad someone's finally running this division properly." First month was controlled chaos, learning regulatory frameworks across 12 different jurisdictions, building relationships with outside counsel firms, putting out fires that had been smoldering for months under the previous leadership. Worked 14-hour days and didn't mind it one bit. There's something about starting fresh somewhere new. No baggage trailing behind you. No history to explain. No one who knows you as that guy whose fiancée was sneaking around with her ex. Just work and possibility, and the chance to prove yourself on merit. Closed 3 deals my predecessor had stalled on for months. Restructured the contract review process to cut turnaround time by 40%. Started a weekly strategy session that my team actually showed up to on time because they wanted to be there. Week 4, the general counsel pulled me aside after a board presentation. "Matthew, you've accomplished more in 1 month than the last guy did in an entire year. Whatever brought you here, I'm glad it happened." "Me too," I said, and meant it completely. Meanwhile, Jake became my unofficial Portland correspondent, kept me updated via screenshots and texts whether I asked for updates or not. Valerie had gone full meltdown on Instagram, posted this long, rambling rant about how I abandoned her without any warning, and chose money and career over love, and refused to fight for the relationship. Said I'd canceled our wedding over absolutely nothing. Post was unhinged. 4 paragraphs of pure victimhood. Claimed I was emotionally manipulative for leaving. Said she'd given everything to the relationship, and I'd thrown it away for a paycheck. No mention of Brody anywhere. No mention of the lies. No mention of hiding an ex. Pure revisionist history designed to make her the victim. She even posted throwback photos of us from better times. Captions like, "I would have followed you anywhere," and "Some people don't know how to accept love." Playing the grieving partner angle hard for sympathy likes. But people who knew pieces of the real story showed up in the comment section. "Weren't you spending every weekend with your ex though? Girl, you fumbled a whole prosecutor for a gym, bro. She bet you'd stay. She lost. I heard the poetry club thing was fake. Wait, isn't Brody the guy with a girlfriend in Eugene? Girl?" The prenup clause was literally just asking for honesty. Ooh! She deleted the post within 2 hours. But screenshots had already spread through every mutual friend group we had. The narrative she was trying to build collapsed before it even launched. Then I got a message request from someone named Natalie. Took me a second to place the name. Brody's actual girlfriend. The one who lived down in Eugene and visited on weekends. The one who didn't know what her boyfriend was doing while she wasn't around. "Hey, I'm dating Brody. Saw your ex's post about you moving to Asia. He's telling me she was just obsessed with him and making stuff up to cause drama. That's not true, right? Sent her a summary. The hidden relationship history. The fake poetry club cover story. The timeline of when Valerie was supposedly busy with family or at poetry versus when Natalie was visiting Eugene. Just facts. What she did with the information was her call. She responded an hour later. Thank you. I feel like an idiot, but at least now I know the truth. I'm posting everything. She did. Posted all the screenshots on her Instagram story with hashtags like hashtag poetry club fail and hashtag liar exposed. Tagged Brody. Tagged Valerie. Tagged their mutual friends. The story got screenshotted and reshared across Portland's social circles before either of them could react or delete anything. Within 6 hours, Brody was calling me from 4 different phone numbers. Didn't answer any of them. Voicemails piled up with increasing desperation. Bro, you need to control your girl. She's destroying my life over here. This is between me and Valerie. You had no right to get Natalie involved. Call me back. This is seriously messed up. You're a real piece of work. You know that? Valerie said you were cold, but damn. She also told me you'd come crawling back eventually. Guess that's not happening, huh? Texted back once. Not my girl. Not my problem. Handle your own messes. You're incredibly vindictive, man. I'm 6,000 miles away watching the Singapore skyline. You're the one whose girlfriend just aired your dirty laundry to 3,000 followers. Maybe reflect on your own choices. Blocked every number he tried. 6 weeks into Singapore. Settled into a good rhythm. Work was solid. Won 2 major regulatory disputes that the previous director had let stagnate. Team was performing well and starting to gel as a unit. Started getting copied on executive strategy calls where real decisions got made. Found a climbing gym near my apartment with a decent expat community. Made some friends who knew nothing about my Portland history. Learned which hawker stalls had the best chicken rice and which food courts to avoid. Then my building's concierge called up to my unit one random Tuesday evening. Mr. Matthew, there's a woman in the lobby asking for you. American. Says she's your fiancée. She doesn't have building clearance to come up to the residential floors. Actually laughed out loud at that. The audacity was almost impressive. Tell her I'm not available and won't be at any point during her visit. Contact building security immediately if she refuses to leave the premises. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown Singapore number. Local area code. I flew 18 hours to talk to you. Valerie's voice came through strained but trying to sound determined. Like she'd rehearsed this opening on the plane. Least you can do is give me 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes, Matthew. After everything. Then you wasted 18 hours, a lot of money on airfare, and whatever vacation days you burned. Go home, Valerie. There's nothing here for you. I'm not leaving Singapore until we talk. I'll sleep in this lobby on this couch if I have to. I'll be here every day until you agree to see me. Building has 24-hour security and a strict policy about non-residents loitering in common areas. They'll remove you. This isn't a negotiation. Hung up without waiting for her response. Watched from my window as she sat on a bench in the courtyard for 3 hours, checking her phone constantly, looking up at the tower. She held up a handwritten sign at one point. Just talk to me. Like a romantic comedy gone wrong. Then she switched signs. I quit my job for this. As if that was supposed to make me feel guilty. Her choices. Her consequences. Eventually building security approached her, had a conversation I couldn't hear, and escorted her firmly off the property. She didn't get a meeting. She didn't get 10 minutes. She didn't get closure. That was the point. She wanted to control the ending. Wanted to be the one who decided how things wrapped up. Shape the final narrative. Wanted me to give her something she could spin into a story where she came out looking reasonable and I came out looking cruel. Not happening. Not ever. She texted from various numbers that night. I'll wait for you, however long it takes. Blocked everyone. Less than 2 weeks later, Jake sent screenshots. Valerie was already dating her yoga instructor. Posted about how sometimes your soulmate has been at the studio all along and healing through movement and self-discovery. Her waiting for me lasted exactly 12 days. Moved on faster than she changed her Instagram bio. Some people never change. Month 4, Jake texted the first real bombshell. Valerie got hit with a state tax audit. They're saying she owes like $28,000 with penalties and interest. Her dad's threatening to kick her out of the house. Turns out someone had filed a formal complaint with Oregon's Department of Revenue about her claiming her parents' address as primary residence while clearly living full-time at a different address in Portland. 3 years of systematic tax fraud. Classic scheme that looks clever until someone with knowledge of the situation decides to report it to the appropriate agency. Didn't feel bad about it. Not even a little. She'd been dodging her tax obligations for years, while I paid every dollar I owed on time, every quarter. Actions meet consequences. She bet I'd stay and tolerate anything she threw at me. She lost everything instead. The rest of the fallout came in waves over the following months. The yoga instructor she'd been dating lasted 7 weeks before she caught him messaging his ex. Got played the exact same way she'd played me. Poetic justice. Brody got restructured out of his Portland gym job about 4 months after everything blew up. Turns out he already had an HR file from multiple workplace complaints, and the poetry club screenshots making rounds through his colleagues were just the final brick in a wall that was already crumbling. Last I heard, he was assistant managing a 24-hour fitness out in Beaverton. Probably making half what he used to. Still single. Still hitting on women at his gym. Still wondering why nothing ever works out for him. Still telling anyone who'll listen that the whole poetry club thing was blown way out of proportion. Nobody believes him anymore. The receipts are permanent. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.